Hey everyone, my name's Lily and I'm the book blogger behind Utopia State of Mind, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my November wrap-up. For November, I read these books. This book is falling off. These books. So pretty small. In general though, November I read less books than I have all year. I am so proud of myself. It didn't feel great in November to kind of be like, oh, I don't want to read, but I don't want to read because it's stress, and not just like, I don't want to read because I'm giving myself a holiday. That was not like it was. What it really was like was I have so much to do right now. Holiday season's coming up. Like, I have so much to do, so I can't read. Not great. But I only read 22 books, which that is still a lot. But for me, it's not as much as normal. So of the 22 books, 48% of them, okay, so I did these stats when I only thought I read 21 books, but actually this book I forgot, which was my audiobook for If This Gets Out, featured a queer main character, so the stat might actually be something like 48-ish, 49% queer books, which is like fantastic. That almost is the normal quota kind of thing I'm looking for POC books, so that was amazing. And for books featuring characters of color, I have 48%. So all in all, so excited for that. As I said before, it doesn't necessarily feel like it was super less stressful. It just feels like I read less, but like I had to read less. In December, I'm hoping that I read less because I'm kind of like, oh, gotta take it easy, you know, last month of the year, see how it goes, but you know, hopefully, but who knows. I have favorites all over the board, really, for November. Let me just start with the first one. This is a middle grade. It's Girl Giant and the Jade War. This is a sequel to Girl Giant and the Monkey King. That's what I think the first one is called. This was a fantastic middle grade series. I don't read that many middle grade books. I'm trying to read more middle grade books, but like, I'm doing my best, okay? This was a sequel to a series that I think I'd read either earlier in 2021 or maybe even the late end of 2020. But this one, what I really liked so much about this middle grade is that I really asked questions about revenge. And like, we think we're gonna get this one back, but like, why are we doing it? Is it because it's the right thing to do? Is it because we were hurt? How do we deal with that? And also, how do we deal with trusting people again and figuring out if we can trust like that same person again, if possible? It had a lot of themes that I really enjoyed. There's a ton of action. Jade War, like, you're gonna have a lot of action with that. But I think what really drew me to it and what I really loved and I thought would be the most sort of resonating with middle grade readers were the themes of sort of revenge, forgiveness, and betrayal. The next one category I want to talk about are sequels. The first one is Girls of Fate and Fury. My copy, I don't know where my copy is. I read an early arc of this one and I loved it so much. Natasha is just, I just want the best things for Natasha anyway. And Girls of Fate and Fury was such a fantastic series finale, series ender. There were some things where I was like, oh, I really hope this is gonna happen. And some of them were right, some of them were very wrong. There were some twists that I was like so surprised by. So overall, this was just a fantastic kind of book on its own, but so beautifully done as a series finale. The next one is The Second Rebel. I listened to this one on audiobook. I really like these. Like, I was so surprised and shocked and kind of swept away by the first sister. I didn't know what to expect. I kind of had heard The Handmaid's Tale, but in space, like space opera style. And while I feel like there's actually so much more to this series than kind of those comps or those two like buzzwords, I don't feel like they're very, very wrong. So if those, you know, reel you in, like it reeled me in, then come join the party. But I wasn't sure how I would feel about The Second Rebel because it was a sequel and I had so high hopes based on how I really enjoyed the first one. Hopes achieved. This like totally did not fall into second book syndrome. There's so much action, so much development of the characters and the story and the world, essentially. I cannot wait for the third one. No idea what it is. The audiobooks are fantastic. They're multiple narrators. One of them is also narrated, or one of the POVs is also narrated by Farah Nazrishi, and Farah wrote, I hope you get this message, and also, the book is escaping my mind, but I hope you get this message. It was also a fantastic YA sci-fi, so that was a fantastic audiobook. The next category I want to talk about are romance books. So we have like, you know, scattered favorites all over the place, all over the genres, age groups, like everything. And it's Weather Girl by Rachel Lynn Solomon. Rachel Lynn Solomon is like an autobi author. I knew I was gonna love Weather Girl. I had such high hopes for Weather Girl because I really enjoyed The X Talk, which is Rachel Lynn Solomon's adult romance debut that came out earlier this year. And Weather Girl is just so fabulous. It comes out in January. It was just like, for romance books, it's kind of hard for me. Sometimes I can really love one character and kind of feel like, meh, I like you, but you're not like my ride or die. In Weather Girl, both of these characters like swept me away and stole my heart. They were so cute. They have all sort of their own lives, their own issues, their own side characters going on in their own mind. And that just brings them to life in front of you. They work so well kind of as individual people and also together in this romance, and that's why I love The Weather Girl. That's also kind of the formula, I guess, for why I really love romance books, is that it's so character driven, but I have to really love the characters. And so if it's one character where I'm kind of like, I don't know how I feel about you, then it can really impact my reading of romance books. The next category is adult fiction, of which I only have one, and it's A History of Wild Places. This one was so atmospheric. So basically, I really loved The Wicked Deep and Winterwood, I think that's what it's called, Shea Earnshaw's two YA books, because the atmosphere, the witchy vibes, and the magic were just so beautifully done. It almost feel like those kinds of things were the things that really give you that reading experience. I kind of had this picture in my mind of kind of walking through a forest and there's fog on the ground, and that just instantly kind of transports you into a mood, a vibe, I guess. And so I was really looking forward to those things in A History of Wild Places. And even though this one isn't like a fantasy kind of thing like those other ones, the atmosphere and the vibe and like the setting are so fabulously done in A History of Wild Places. This is also one where I kind of like had to keep reading and reading to kind of feel like, okay, what's gonna happen next? What's going on, basically? And it was fabulous. It was just so entertaining, but also atmospheric, and there was so much suspense and intrigue and tension basically from the very, very beginning. The next one is actually an adult fiction graphic novel, so I wasn't sure where to put it. It is called So Much for Love. It is a graphic novel which talks about escaping toxic relationships, but also kind of how you process a toxic relationship after it's happened, and kind of there are really great diagrams and really useful information about how you identify toxic relationship red flags, how you kind of process it, and kind of psychologically how you deal with it. I felt like half of this graphic novel was so story based, and also so many moments really resonated with me and made me go like, too real. So half of it is kind of story based and really sweeps you away. Then the second half to me was very information based in a very helpful way. Not only helpful for me to kind of process some of my feelings, but I think it will be really helpful for people who are maybe struggling in that moment, reassessing, I guess, their relationship, and also maybe people who are in a toxic relationship. I just think it's so fabulous because it so well kind of serves both of these two, not audience groups, both of these two goals, I guess. And then finally, there is one YA anthology, and that's A Phoenix First Must Burn. I knew I was gonna love this one, okay? The title is based on an Octavia Butler quote. Basically, A Phoenix First Must Burn are all about YA, sci-fi / speculative fiction, so sci-fi fantasy books featuring Black characters. And so that mission statement was already fabulous. The author list was amazing, some of my absolute favorites. As I said, the title was inspired by Octavia Butler, and it's so true. What I really thought about this is that I can imagine that this would make readers feel the similar ways to how I felt when I read 1,000 Beginnings and Endings, but sort of so affirming and like so kind of when you don't see yourself or visions of yourself in the future, how much of an impact that can make. And so reading just felt so heart-wrenchingly emotional, but in the best way. I don't know why I wasn't picking it up. Anyway, I have a copy of A Phoenix First Must Burn. This is also signed by some of the authors. As you can also see, it's from the Strand. The next two I also have, so that's why I was like, why aren't I picking these up? The first one is The Righteous with the super shiny cover. I was not sure what to expect for The Righteous. Also, look at that. Not a coincidence. So I really liked The Beautiful. I was so ready for the vampires to come back. I was like, yes, vampires, let's go. And then I read The Damned and I was kind of like, oh, the pacing is really off. I felt like everything kind of happened bam, bam, bam. And then the book ended and I was kind of like, oh, I don't know how to process what's going on right now. So I was kind of wary about The Righteous, and I loved it, obviously. Things that I loved about it. So first of all, Pippa and Arjun are kind of the main characters of The Righteous. There are other characters kind of sprinkled in throughout, or not other characters, but other sort of perspectives kind of sprinkled in throughout the latter half of the book, mostly so we can ramp up the action ready for the series finale. So this is a quartet. But Pippa and Arjun, like, completely swept my heart. I was really intrigued by them, so this was really cool that the sequel kind of takes their story as the main focus of the book. And also, I felt like they're so intriguing because they have such interesting sort of backstories and trauma and roles in the story beforehand, and also like the story of this one. They were just beautiful to witness their relationship to unfold. They're now my favorite kind of ship of this series. And I think the other thing that I really liked is it really made me think about the titles of these books. Okay, so when I was reading The Righteous, I was thinking, oh, like, what really reminds me, or what I really think about right now is kind of like, what is a righteous action? Who is in the right? And then I was kind of like, oh, wow, I need to sit with this and think about how I feel about the other titles too now. So that's kind of the reasons why I love The Righteous, and it just, I wasn't expecting to love it so much, but I gave it 5 stars, and now it's my favorite of all the 3 so far. And finally, it is The Kindred. I loved The Kindred. I've really loved Alicia Dow's books in the past, so I had high hopes for The Kindred. I was kind of like, I really love Alicia Dow's books, and so this one better, like, I better love this one too. And I did. So Felix and Joy, it's dual perspective. Felix and Joy are just so beautiful. They're so beautiful. The character dynamics between them is so, they're so moving, and the relationship slash the romance ship in The Kindred is fabulous. Someone, I think Becca Coffinduffer, I had a panel, I'll link it below on YouTube, you can rewatch it now. I think someone had called it, and I think Becca had, I think they called it a neon romance. And I'm not exactly sure what that is, but get from the vibes, I'm pretty sure that this is one of them. It's sci-fi, but so much of the action also takes place on Earth too. What I really loved is that there's this empath connection, or not empath, but it's kind of like telepathic communication or connection between them. Alicia has done such beautiful work with the world building. I feel like I could sit in this world for so long because there's so much to think about. There's so much to think about in the concept of how the sort of planets came into power, why this telepathic communication or connection was even invented. There's just so much to think about in The Kindred, just from a world building perspective. I have so much respect and admiration for Alicia for doing that work. And secondly, the characters swept me away. Okay, dual perspective I think was a fabulous choice for this book, because you're really able to see these feelings that people are kind of denying. There's perhaps a little bit of denying of the feels, and also kind of what they're thinking about. What are their worries, their joys, their fears, their insecurities. It was fantastic. I really was able to love Felix and Joy separately as characters and people, and then also being able to love them, you know, interacting together. So all in all, love The Kindred so much. You definitely should put that on your radar and also pre-order it. Amazing. And yeah, that brings me to the end of my November wrap-up. I hope you enjoyed. As I said, this one was just all over the place with so many different genres and age groups and like everything. I'd love to know what your favorite books from November are, and what books you're excited to read for December. I know that, you know, there's a December TBR, but I'd still like to know, you know, second chance to answer how you feel. How do I feel about November? November was a lot. It was a lot. And even though I'd read less, which I feel very good about, very happy about, that's kind of where I want to go. I want to go down. That's what I want to do. Yeah, as I said, it didn't feel as relaxing because it was, I can't read because I'm so stressed. I mentioned that before, and that is totally how I feel. Anyway, I hope December will be better. I hope December for you so far has been fabulous, and that you kind of end 2021 on a good note. I'm sure we'll talk more and more about 2021 and 2022 in future videos. But I hope that, December is treating you well so far. I hope you have a really great day, and I will see you in the next one.